Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will be discussing the story behind this picture which you can see. And what is the story? This is from Srimad Bhagvatam Canto 4, the first 7 chapters of Srimad Bhagvatam of Canto 4. So Canto 4 pretty much talks about the Visarga. There are 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, and this section particularly talks about Visarga, which means secondary creation, that is the creation of Lord Brahma. So I'll just offer a small prayer. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. So chapter 1 begins with the description of the family of Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa. Swayambhu Manu, who is the son of Lord Brahma, had 3 daughters, namely Devahuti, Akuti and Prasuti, and he had 2 sons, namely Utthanpad and Priyavrata. So we have discussed about Devahuti and Kardam Muni in the previous canto, that's Canto 3, and Akuti's family is described, and then Prasuti's family is described, and Utthanpad, his family will be described later, and his son being Dhruva Maharaj. So that section will be after chapter 7, starting from chapter 8 onwards. So coming back to Prasuti, Prasuti was married to Daksha. Prasuti, being the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, was married to Daksha. And Daksha and Prasuti had 16 daughters. And Satī was very, very dear to, of course, Satī, being the daughter of Prasuti and Daksha, was very, very dear to them. But she had no child. And in the last verse of chapter 1, Srila Maitreya Muni speaks that Satī gave up her body before attaining a mature age due to her father Daksha offending Lord Shiva. So it was just one line was mentioned, and it is the curiosity and inquisitiveness of a sincere seeker, like Vidura in this case, who asked his teacher Maitreya Muni that what was the reason? How could Daksha neglect Satī and hate Lord Shiva? What was the reason for the dissension between Daksha and Shiva? So chapter 2 of Canto 4 begins with this. It's entitled Daksha Curses Lord Shiva. And as we know that Bhagavatam was spoken multiple times, so sometimes we see Vidura is asking Maitreya Muni, sometimes Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami, their conversation is mentioned, sometimes Lord Shiva speaking to Parvati, sometimes Suta Goswami speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. This is all in Srimad Bhagavatam, so it was spoken at multiple places, in multiple audiences. So chapter 2 begins with this question of Vidura, that how come Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle, who is the spiritual master of the whole world, Char Achara Guru, who is non-envious, who is always peaceful and self-satisfied, and the best amongst the demigods, the best amongst the Vaishnavas, and he was also the son-in-law of Daksha, because he was the husband of Satī. So what was the reason for this dissension, and why did Satī give up her body? So he wanted to know, he was very inquisitive, in the right humble spirits, to ask his bona fide spiritual master Maitreya Muni about this. So finally Maitreya Muni begins to reply to that question. And then he starts that where there was a sacrifice organized, a yajna was organized by the leaders of the whole world, of the universe, and great sages and demigods and everyone had assembled. Lord Brahma was present, Lord Shiva was present, and then like a hero comes and the Daksha enters into the arena in that assembly. And Daksha, being the Prajapati, was very, very effulgent, and everyone offered great respects. Everyone in the assembly offered respects to Daksha except for Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Now, for someone who has been respected and he doesn't get that respect, it is like death for that person. So Daksha, because of the false ego, that why did Lord Shiva not get up to offer respect to me? He was very, very angry upon Lord Shiva. And although he said, I am not envious or ignorant, but in the heart he was very much envious and ignorant of Lord Shiva's position. Lord Shiva, from an external calculation, was the son-in-law of Daksha. But from the internal calculation, we know that he is the topmost amongst the devotees. He is not an ordinary Jiva. He is the best amongst the demigods, the best amongst the devotees, and he is like the Supreme Lord, like a milk converted into yogurt. He is the Supreme Father of the material world. So Daksha did not understand that position, and he starts to blaspheme Lord Shiva with very harsh words. He addresses Lord Shiva as shameless, proud, unclean, Lord of the Ghost, who is violating the codes of conduct. He's like a madman, laughing and crying. He's impure heart. And then, but our Vaishnava Acharyas explain that all these are basically indirect praise of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the Lord of the Ghost because he is so merciful even to the one who have been rejected by everyone. No one wants to be with the ghost. But Lord Shiva helps them also make spiritual progress. So, in multiple ways, it is basically, the Acharyas explain that it's an indirect praise of Lord Shiva. But Daksha did not have that in his heart. He was speaking out of anger. And finally, he curses Lord Shiva that you would not share, you would not have a share in the sacrificial oblations. And finally, Daksha leaves the assembly. Finally, the Nandishwara and other followers of Lord Shiva got very much angry upon this whole situation. And Nandi's counter-curse. So tit for tat. So Daksha cursed Lord Shiva. The followers could not tolerate seeing their master being cursed like this. Nandi cursed the Brahmanas and the Daksha that you would lose your head because you are like a goat, and you would shortly get a goat head because you are so attached to the bodily sense pleasure or sex life. And all the other supporters, there was counter cursing going on. They would continue to be in the samsara because they have lost their intelligence, they have lost their discrimination. And then finally Bhrigu Muni gets upset, and then he counter curses the Lord Shiva's followers that you will become atheist and you will become the Mayavadi philosophers, and you will be diverted from the transcendental spiritual injunctions, and you'll become addicted to wine, flesh, etc. So there's a whole cursing and counter cursing going on back and forth. Finally, Lord Shiva also leaves that assembly. But the yajna continued, and finally that yajna got over. And it didn't end in a very good note. This brings us to chapter 3, which is entitled Talks Between Lord Shiva and Satī. After the end of the previous yajna, this Daksha, the father of Satī, organizes one more yajna. But this time, he intentionally did not invite Lord Shiva because of the previous tension going on, and he wanted to show his proud and he invited everyone, but did not invite Satī, being her very daughter, and Lord Shiva being the son-in-law. Now Satī, when she was seeing all the heavenly denizens having this conversation about Daksha Yajna, and they were getting ready and dressed up with nice ornaments, they were going in celestial planes to the sacrifice. Sati also developed a desire to go. And Sati is trying to convince Lord Shiva that we must go. It is it is your father-in-law's sacrifice. All the demigods are going. I want to see my mother, my sister, my aunt, my other relatives. How can a daughter be undisturbed hearing such a festive event is going in the father's home, and how can a daughter not go? So she gives multiple reasons that she wants to attend. Lord Shiva responds to those arguments or those reasons that yes, one should go, but one should not go to a place where one is uninvited, and where a person, where the host is like a fault finder. So one must not go to such a place, because the outcome would not be good. Because of your connection with me, O Sati, Daksha did not invite you. And if you go there, the outcome will not be good. So I am requesting you to please don't go. And Lord Shiva gives multiple reasons towards the end of this chapter 3. Finally, he concludes, 1, you should not go. If you neglect my words and go, the future will not be good for you. So, when a respected person is humiliated by a relative, it will be equal to death. So, oh dear Sati, please don't go to that yajna. The outcome will not be good. This brings us to chapter 4 of Canto 4. Sati quits her body. Sati ignored the wife of her spiritual master and her husband, referring to Lord Shiva here. And it is mentioned in the beginning of chapter 4 that Sati was very angry upon Lord Shiva, as if, about to burn him. Of course, this is the Leela. Finally, she ignores the good advice of her husband and she goes to the yajna of Daksha, her father. Seated on the Nandi bull and the other entourage, she goes there. But as per Lord Shiva's instructions, he already knew. He's not an ordinary person. He knows past, present and future. He knew that what would be the outcome. So Sati gets a very cold response. Daksha did not, give any proper respect to Sati. And no one received Sati properly out of fear of Daksha. Upon this, Sati did not accept any seat or gifts, and Sati was very angry upon her father Daksha. And then Sati condemns this sacrifice, which was, condemning the fruitive sacrifice and the proud performers like Daksha. Sati starts to condemn Daksha in multiple verses, in about 14 verses, that you are proud, you are envious of Lord Shiva, you are an asadhu, you don't know the glories of the dust of a Vaishnava like Lord Shiva. You don't know about the glories of how Shiva is so great. But because of your envy and because of your pride, and you are so puffed up that you blasphemed a Vaishnava. So one should not hear the blasphemy of a Vaishnava, and neither one should indulge in doing so. So seeing that on the whole episode, Sati decides, I will not maintain this body which is received from you. Sati did not accept anything. Finally, Sati gives up her body. Sati meditates upon the fire, and she's cleansed of all the contaminations and wants to give up her identity as the daughter of Daksha. And meditating upon her husband, her spiritual master, Lord Shiva, Sati quits the body. And as Sati quits the body, a great cry in the universe arises because of Daksha's neglect and the hard-hearted Daksha, the stone-hearted Daksha. So, seeing all this, Nandi and the other followers of Shiva try to attack Daksha and the other people in the assembly. Seeing this, Bhrigu Muni offered oblations in the fire and created a team of Ribhus, like soldiers, the demigod soldiers who had a lot of strength. And finally the Ribhus start to fight with the Nandi, etc. And as a result, Nandi and all had to leave the scene. This brings us to chapter 5, frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha. Now the news that Satī has given up her body reaches Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was very angry to hear that her dear Satī has given up her body. He, out of anger, plucks a hair out of his head, and bangs on the ground and creates a demon named Veerabhadra. Now Veerabhadra was very, very fearsome, having a garland of skulls and thousands of arms equipped with multiple weapons, very, very powerful. And Lord Shiva orders Veerabhadra to go and kill Daksha. Veerabhadra proceeds with other Shiva's entourage, Nandi, etc. Like a dust storm is entering that yagya. Prasuti and the other woman, Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, knew that you have upset Lord Shiva. It is like Lord Shiva who is in charge of dissolution. So you have certainly, displeased Lord Shiva, and there I can see the evil omens. And Veerabhadra arrives on that scene, and the destruction starts to happen. They destroyed all the pillars, the quarters, the assembly hall, the kitchen, the residential quarters, and they extinguished the sacrificial fire. Veerabhadra now plucks off the mustache of Bhrigu Muni, the eyes of Bhaga, the teeth of Pusha, because he was the one smiling when Daksha was blaspheming Lord Shiva. So if you blaspheme, the lesson is that one should never be directly or indirectly criticize Vaishnavas. The outcome is not good. We will lose all our bhakti. And then finally, Veerabhadra chops off the head of Daksha. And then this chapter comes to an end, that Veerabhadra and the other Shiva's entourage, they go back to Kailash. So, seeing this whole mess created, all the demigods approach Lord Brahma, and then they approach Lord Shiva. And that brings us to next chapter, chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. So finally, as I mentioned, the demigods and Lord Brahma, the demigods approach Lord Brahma asking for help, and then they approach Kailash, that is the abode of Lord Shiva. There is wonderful description in multiple verses about the Kailash hill and about the Alka region, what kind of animals were present, what kind of beautiful fruit-bearing trees were present, the flowers, the deers, the Gandharvas, etc., the waterfalls, such a totally sattvic environment in the mode of total goodness. And then they come and see Lord Shiva, who was meditating under the banyan tree upon his master, that is the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, along with other associates like Kuvera, Kumaras, etc. So finally, Lord Brahma glorifies Lord Shiva that you are acting on the behalf of Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are not different in the sense that milk in the form of yogurt. Lord Shiva is the father in the form of Sadashiv, the father and the mother of the whole universe. So Lord Brahma glorifies Lord Shiva in multiple ways, and Lord Shiva, being Ashutosh, is pleased. So Lord Brahma is requesting to please forgive the sinful Daksha who is influenced by Maya, but you are a Paramahamsa. You sadhus are very compassionate to the materialists like Daksha. So please forgive Daksha, who, overcome by material energy and the influence of Maya, did all these wrong things and out of envy. So Lord Brahma puts this request to get Daksha back to life, to revive the demigods, and to please accept your share of the sacrifice. This brings us to the chapter 7, entitled The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. So, Lord Shiva revives Daksha's life. Lord Shiva, being Ashutosh, he is easily pleased, so he agrees to the request of Lord Brahma and fulfills the request. Finally, Daksha gets the head of a goat, as it was forecasted by Nandi, and he had the words and intelligence of a goat. Those who are too much absorbed in envious mentality and sense pleasure. Finally, Bhaga and Pusha, they also get their mustache and their teeth, etc. back. Everyone kind of approved, and then Daksha understands his mistake, and remembering Satī, the beloved daughter, lost life because of all this envious mentality of Daksha. And Daksha realizes that, and then prays to Lord Shiva that by punishing me, you have showed mercy upon me. Like a father corrects the child, it is not that the father is envious of the child. The father wants the child's benefit, but sometimes the child does not understand that. So Lord Shiva, being the Supreme Father, wanted Daksha's benefit, but Daksha thought otherwise. So finally he understood his mistake. Daksha understood his mistake and offers prayers to Lord Shiva, and understands that I insulted you, please be satisfied, please forgive me. And finally Daksha starts one more yagya or sacrifice, and where everyone is present, the demigods are present, Lord Shiva is present, Lord Brahma is present. And then when the yagya is done without the envious mentality and in harmony to please Lord Vishnu, who is Yagyeshwara, he is very happy. And then Lord Hari or Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu appears on the scene of this time when the yagya was performed. We don't see the mention of Lord Hari coming in the previous two yagyas. Now this is yagya number 3 in this sequence. And there is beautiful description of Lord Hari or Lord Vishnu. And that's the picture we see on the screen also. He appeared on the Garuda, his divine carrier. Shama is blackish in complexion with the golden yellow garments. The crown is dazzling as the sun. The hair bluish like the black bees. The face decorated with earrings. His 8-handed form holding shankha, the conch, the wheel, the club, the lotus, the arrow, the bow, the shield, the sword, and he is decorated with multiple golden ornaments like the sunrise. His body is like a blue lotus flower, and the chest is adorned with the goddess, decorated with the goddess of fortune and a garland. His face was decorated with beautiful glance and smiling attitude that can captivate the entire world, especially the devotees of Lord Hari. And on the sides we see the 2 chamaras like the swans, and on the top we see the white canopy like the moon. So beautiful personal description of the Lord. Krishna is a person. He's not some light. He's not some any kind of jyoti or any light or undescribable, etc. Krishna has a form. We worship the beautiful form of the Lord, and so many beautiful features of the Lord are described. Finally, all the people assembled in the that sacrifice starts to offer multiple prayers to the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu, starting with Daksha. Multiple prayers are offered. Lord Shiva offers the prayer that my mind is always fixed upon your lotus feet. Lord Shiva is speaking that. Daksha speaks that you are always pure, Shuddham, you are transcendental to everything. Your body, your Swarupa is transcendental. Brahma speaks this Indra speaks that your 8-handed form is for the welfare of the universe, is very pleasing to mind and eyes. And all the other members, the priests, the assemblies, the devatas, the gandharvas, vidyadharas, prasuti, the sages, the wives of the performers of sacrifice, everyone is offering multiple prayers. Oh, you are Bhakta Vatsala, you are very, very dear to your devotees. And finally, Lord Vishnu is very, very happy when devotees offer prayers to him. And then the Lord speaks and instructs Daksha that my devotees never see differences between me and the others. They see like qualitatively oneness, because they are above all these modes. They should try to transcend these modes and not be envious, especially of devotees. The ignorant people see differences. The ignorant people have this envious and friendship mentality. But a devotee is Suhrida Sarva Bhutanam. He is the friend of everyone. So Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu here is instructing Daksha. And finally, this chapter 7, and this pastime comes to an ending where Daksha worshipped Lord Vishnu, Daksha worshipped Lord Shiva and others, understanding their true position, and the demigods departed to their respective abodes, and Satī was reborn as Parvati, and Satī marries Lord Shiva again. That's their eternal consort. And then finally Maitreya Muni speaks that I narrated this story to you as I have heard from my teacher, my guru, Uddhava. And anyone who hears this pastime or narrates this pastime with love and devotion, all the sins of that person are destroyed. So this is the beautiful pastime from the first 7 chapters of Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagvatam. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai.